Okay, so it's 1:10 on the 2nd of July, and I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, so you should be able to see my training view chart for Euro US. I'm on the 1 minute chart. I need to go to the 15-minute chart. My apologies for being late. I've had a few technical issues. So if you're watching on YouTube, my apologies. So I need to, first of all, explain whilst I'm doing this. I'm taking off the indicators, and I want a nice clean screen. So when we trade Crossfire in the afternoon, we look at Euro USD, we look at Euro CAD, GBP USD, and GBP CAD. In the morning sessions at 6 a.m. UK time, we look at these bottom four pairs. And the first thing that we do is we place a couple of trend lines. So this is the 1 o'clock candle, and I want to put a trend line above where price is right now, and I'm just placing it roughly. I want a red trend line and a green trend line. I normally put the red trend line below where price is, and I put a green trend line above where price is. And then I wait for that 15-minute candle to close, which is any minute now. And then I'm going to place those trend lines accurately. I'm just going to do exactly the same on the other three pairs. And so I'm going to put one above where price is now, and one below where price is now, and then come back and place them accurately in a couple of minutes. That's two pairs marked up. I would normally have this done before I do this session, but I was tied up trying to get my computer to work. So there's one below, and there's one above. We'll change that to green. And the last pair is your GBP CAD. So I'm going to put one above and one below. And make that red. Okay, so it's now 15 minutes past. So that is the 1 o'clock candle. This green one is the 1:15 candle. The one I'm interested in is this red one. And if I look at the top of the wick on the red candle, I can see that there's nothing any higher so far today. So this blue dashed vertical line indicates the start of today's trading, and price has never been higher than it was on the 1 o'clock candle. So what I need to do is I need to make this line horizontal, and then I need to drag it down so that it touches the wick at the top of the 1 o'clock candle. There we go. Now the one, if I look at the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle, there is a wick on it, and if I look to the left, there's the nearest lower candle. So if I put the magnet tool on, and just drag this somewhere close, it should snap into position. There we go. And then I need to drag the other end so that the line touches the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle. And we do that for all four pairs. And the strategy is quite simple. It's when we've got these lines in position, we wait for price to either break out above the green trend line, in which case we start looking for buying opportunities, or we wait for price to drop below the red trend line, in which case we start looking for selling opportunities. So that's one pair marked up. We do the same with the others. So once again, that was the 1 o'clock candle. If you look at the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock, that was the highest the price has been all day. Just need to take off the magnet tool. So if I put this horizontal, and then make that so that it touches the top of the 1 o'clock wick. There we go. Now I'm going to put the magnet tool back on now because I need this to snap into position. So I'm looking at the bottom of the 1 o'clock. There is no wick on that one, but I'm noticing that the next candle is the nearest lower candle. And as with the previous pair, I just need to get this to touch the bottom of the 1 o'clock candle. Now I need it to pass through the center of the candle, looking from left to right. So there isn't a wick to help me there, but I need to try and get it through the middle of the candle from left to right. So that's more or less in position. The Euro card will do the same. So that red candle is the 1 o'clock. And if I look left from the top of the wick, I can see that that next candle is the nearest higher candle. And if I look at the bottom of the 1 o'clock and look left, the very next candle is the nearest lower candle. And then the last pair is Euro USD. I'm looking at this candle here, which is the 1 o'clock, and I'm looking at the top of the wick, and I'm looking left, and I can see that there is a higher candle over there. I'm going to get rid of that line. That's going to be a distraction. So I'm looking at the top of the wick on the 1 o'clock candle. I'm looking left, and I can see that that one is slightly higher. So I'm going to drag that trend line to that point there and drag this down so that it touches the top of the 1 o'clock. I'm looking at the bottom and I'm looking left, and there's the nearest lower candle is that one. And I just need to drag this up. For some reason, this mouse pad is not working effectively. Bear with me 1 second. Once again, I need it to pass through the middle, looking from left to right of the 1 o'clock candle. So we're almost there, a little bit further. Just a little bit further. There we go. So we marked all of the charts up on the 15-minute chart. I'm going to remove the magnet tool and I'm going to go down to the 2-minute chart. And they're going to add the straightforward forex indicator, the clouds, and the water atta. And I'm going to go back and just see where we are. So we've just come above the green trend line, but we've immediately gone back so that we're now below the green trend line, but we're not below the red trend line. We're in what we call no man's land. There's a wedge there formed by the red and the green trend lines. And whilst we're in this area here, that's no man's land, and we don't ever get into a trade whilst prices in that situation. One of the things I'm noticing is that there is an outstanding POC above work prices now, and I'm also noticing that there is a red dash line here indicating a break of structure. I'm also conscious that the black line here, which is the 200 moving average, is below work prices at the minute, and the other two moving averages, which is that red line there and that green line there, so that's a 13 and that's a 62 moving average. So we're looking at a situation where the 13 and the 62 are just, that one's just above the 200. So that's shaping up nicely for a buy, but until price breaks above my green trend line, I can't get in. The other thing is the water atta. That histogram, that bar there where the green was above the black and the black was pointing away from the red. That was a good situation to be in, but the black line is now pointing downwards, so that's not a good situation. So we're going to come back and look at that again in a few minutes. I need to point out that this icon here is letting me know that at 2:30 there is some news. So I'm going to look at a couple of sources of news. I should have done this before I started, but I'm looking here. We're now at 24 minutes past 1. So the next news is at 2:30. There's Canadian dollar low impact, there's euro medium impact, and there's US dollar high impact. However, those two items are both speeches, so if there is any impact from those events, it may be that they're slightly delayed, because we don't know how long the speech is going to be. But this one here, the 3 o'clock US dollar, is high impact, red flag, and there could well be some price movement at 3. I just confirmed on another source of news. This is the MyFX book economic calendar. They're going to a bit more detail, and once we get to current time, so it's saying in 29 minutes there's some low impact US dollar, there's some high impact Canadian dollar at 2:30, US dollar at 2:30, euro medium dollar at 2:30, and then you've got high impact at 3 o'clock on the US dollar and medium impact on the US dollar. So we can expect some disruption 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we're going to go back to current situation. So on euro US, not a lot going on. Where I've lost my cursor. There we go. So on the current candle, we're still in no man's land. We're still in the wedge between the green and the red trend lines. I'm going to look at the other 3 pairs, and I'm going to hide those and then just zoom in slightly if we can. So we've got, we've been above the green trend line, but we've now come back down. We're now actually below the red trend line, but it's a bit confusing because we're actually still almost attached to the 200 moving average. The 13 moving average is above the 200, but the 62 is below the 200. So nothing definite there to go on. Just going to try and move that down. So I'm also looking at the water atta, and you can see that the black line is below the red line. I like it to be above the red line, and I like it to be pointing away from the red line. And I want the histogram to be either a dark red or dark green, and to be above the black line. So that's all what we call consolidation. Prices just moving upwards, up and down, very close to the 200 moving average. It's not really going anywhere. So we'll look at the other pairs. Similar, the British pound US dollar is similar to the euro in that price did temporarily get above the green trend line, but then decided to come back down. It's now below the red trend line, but because we're below the red trend line, we should be thinking sells, but there's a number of factors working against that. We're in a wave. We're in a wave up. We've had green P-stars pushing price up. We've recently got red P-stars pushing price down, but we don't yet have a wave down. So we need a wave down. We also need this 13 and 62 moving average to start pointing downwards, and ideally I want them below the 200. However, the 200 is pointing upwards, indicating a buy. So conflicting information from there. What I do notice is that we've got an outstanding POC, yesterday's POC up there, so it could be a target if price goes up. Price might, otherwise, if it comes back down, it might come back down to the 200. But the water atta is going to keep me out because the black line isn't pointing away from the red line, it's actually pointing towards the red line, and that's not a good time to get in. So if I go to GBP card, the fourth there, similar. We sort of briefly got above the green trend line, then we came back into no man's land, dropped below the red trend line, and now we're back in no man's land. So there's conflicting information, but what I can see there is sideways movement, consolidation. There isn't any news at 1:30. There normally is some kind of news at 1:30, which does give us some price movement, but there's nothing today. Let me just go back to Forex Factory, and there's nothing at 1:30. So it's going to be a quiet session for us on this particular session. There's nothing going to affect the news. No news to affect the price until, I would say, 3 o'clock at the earliest. I don't think these speeches, unless there's something really dramatic mentioned in those speeches, I don't think the price is going to move that much. I think it's going to move at 3 when that red flag news occurs. So this could be a short session. I'm just going to go back through the pairs and see, just sort of do a bit of thinking out loud. I'm waiting for price on GBP card. I'm waiting for price to either move above the green trend line. I'm going to look up there and see if there's any targets up there. There's nothing nearby. So if price does get out of the, if it comes out of no man's land and it goes above the green trend line, we're going to need a new wave up to give us confidence that price is moving up. We need the red moving average to start pointing upwards, and we need this black line to be above the red line. We need, if we're looking for a buy, we need this histogram to be dark green rather than dark red. So there's nothing to see there. Price is sort of hanging close to the yesterday's POC. So basically, we're just waiting for a move. We don't know whether it's going to move upwards or downwards. There's nothing indicating. We've got the black line is hiding behind the red line. If it gets above the red line, it is pointing upwards, so we could be getting indications of a sell, and we are in a way down, and we do have red PSATs. However, I would like the 13 moving average and the 62 moving average to be below the 200 moving average to give me confidence to get in for a sell. If I was looking at price going above the green trend line, there is an outstanding POC which could be a target up there. And the target I would have in mind if price came down is the edge of my field of play, because price can bounce off the edge of the field of play and come back to the yesterday's POC. So we've got some options there, but nothing moving. And it's a sign of the times. We are in a week where we've got an election in the UK. It's also July the 4th on Thursday, so the American market is going to be a bit slow. And then on Friday, we've got non-farm payroll. So there's quite a few reasons why price might just continue moving sideways without any real movement. So I'm just going to try and see if I can just take that down and see if I can get a different screen on. Bear with me 1 second. It says my screen sharing is paused for some reason, so maybe you can't see anything. Okay, so I'm going to go back to right. So I've now got screen sharing, so you should be able to see. You should be able to see my trading view chart, and we were looking at GBP CAD and making and commenting that price is literally just moving sideways. I don't intend to stay on an hour looking at prices moving sideways. So we've got some options there if price does make a move. We've got a potential target up there. We've got a potential target at the bottom of that field of play, but we need some strong movement. This is shaping up a little bit better. The black line is above the red line and it's pointing away from the red line, and we've got a very strong histogram there. The price is sort of clinging to yesterday's POC, and it has to get past the 200 moving average before it can get down to that edge of the field of play. So I'm not confident. I wouldn't be confident enough to get in for a sell or a buy on that pair. Just going to change what we've got on screen. I'm going to have a look at. I'm testing the new trade assistant, so that's nice. You should be able to see that screen. Looking at Euro USD from a slightly different perspective, I can see that at this point here, well, in fact, starting way down here, we've been in an upward trend. We're just having a bit of a downward movement at the minute. We've got this full average, which has changed from green to red, and these Heikin-Ashi candles are declining in size. They've got really flat, and then at that point they've changed to red. So they've changed from green to red. So there's potential for price to go down. The yellow and the blue are lower moving averages, and the white is the higher moving average. In this case, it's a 68. So when those moving averages come back below the higher moving average, we could well be looking at a potential sell. But that would be the point at which this trading assistant will get me into a sell. So there's nothing going on looking at that one, looking at that particular test right now. If I go back to this afternoon's crossfire session, I'm suspecting there'll be nothing really to comment on. There is a bit of a downward movement. We have got the explosion line, which is a black line, pointing away from the red line. We've got a nice strong histogram above the black line. The price is moving away from yesterday's POC, but it is going to hit that black line, and it could well reject off that black line. I'm just going to measure the distance from where price is now. So there's about 6 pips down to that point. By the time price does make a bit of a stronger move, we'll be very close to that point. I would personally wait until price broke below that 200 moving average, and I would want ideally the red and the green moving average lines to come below the 200 moving average before I got into a sell. We are in a wave down. We've got red PSARs, but we need to move away from yesterday's POC and ideally below the 200, and then potential target would be down here, the bottom of that yellow shaded area. What I could do, rather than just sit and watch this chart all afternoon, I can put on a parallel chart and I can say, if price gets outside that yellow field of play, let me know. I'm going to make that horizontal, and then if I drag that down, I really want price to get below that black line. So I'm going to set an alert on that. Ask for an alert when it exits the channel once per bar, and then I don't have to sit and watch this chart all afternoon. There's a little alarm clock icon there, which confirms that I've got an alert set. So that's the way I'm going to deal with it this afternoon. I'm not expecting a lot of movement. I'm not prepared to sit and watch the charts all afternoon. I'm going to wait until I get an alert. This is very similar. It hasn't got above the green trend line yet. We are in a wave up. We've got an upward pointing 200 moving average. 62 is pointing upwards. 13 is pointing upwards. But it's struggling to get past the trend line. And the water atta isn't confirming either a buy or a sell. We've got the black line below the red line, so that's of no interest. We have got a green histogram beginning to appear. So if price gets above that green dashed line, which is a breaking structure, then we might be looking at a potential buy. We've got a potential target up there. However, this red trend line can give us resistance, and it may be that price will bounce off that. As time goes by, let's say we're getting into a buy round about here, we've got a bit more room and a bit more chance of getting up to yesterday's POC. But once again, I'm going to put a parallel channel on. I'm going to say, let me know if and when it gets above that breaker structure line. Make that horizontal. And then if I was going to get in for a sell, we're already below the red trend line. But for me to get in, I would want price to get below that field of play. So I want it to break out of the field of play. When I set these alerts, I'm not suggesting that as soon as I get an alert, I'm going to jump into a trade. Basically, I'm going to come back to the screen and reanalyze. So one thing I'll be looking for would be this 200 moving average to stop pointing upwards. I wanted to at least start pointing sideways and possibly start coming down. I'd want these two moving averages to come down. Ideally, I would want a red cloud pointing downwards, or I want the price to go above the channel with that as a potential target. So I'm going to measure that distance from there down to my channel. It's about 10 pips in that one. So that's a potential buying opportunity. There's also a chance that price might go down, in which case we'd look for what I would do is I'd go to a higher time frame and I would look left and see if there was any outstanding imbalance over to the left there. So I've got an alert on that one. I'm going to put a couple more alerts on. Then I'm going to call it a day because there's nothing much happening. Well, I was going to say there's nothing much happening, but there's a little bit of action here. We're below the red trend line. We're in a wave down. We've got red PSARs pushing price down. We've got red wave blocks. The 13 moving average is pointing down. It's about to cross over the 62 moving average. Both of those are already below the 200. So once that red line crosses over the green line, we're in a comfortable, a more confident selling situation. And the water atta is looking good. So I would suggest that on Euro CAD, we might be looking at a potential selling opportunity. I just want that to cross the red to cross over the green. I'm going to indicate that I'm thinking about getting in on the next candle, I think, unless this candle changes direction. At the minute, price is slightly going upwards. It might come down and then reject from there. So what I need to do is I'll mark that as potential opportunity to get in, but I need to measure. So from where price is now down to the edge of my field of play, there's about 8 pips. Now my stop loss could potentially be up there on that red line, which is only 1.2. I'll need a bit more. I will probably take it up to about 5. I'll probably take it to 6. So my stop loss is going to be 6 pips, 6.6 pips, and my target is only 7.6. So that's not a good trade. I only look for 1 to 2s. Now there is a chance that if price keeps coming down, it might break out of the field of play. And in order to establish that, I would need to go up to a 15-minute chart, look left, see if there's any imbalance over to the left there, down in this area, which might give me a better chance. But price isn't moving in my direction, and the histogram is sort of, the sellers are stepping back a little bit there. So I wouldn't be confident about getting in to that one right now. And I'm going to take off that indicator there because there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing that. One is, well, there's a couple of long wicks below the candle. So there's a long one there and there's a long one there. And it looks as if price is thinking about moving in the opposite direction. I'm going to have a look and see what, if that would, yes. So on this trade assistant that I'm testing, there was it did take me in for a buy at that point, and then because the Heikin-Ashi changed, it took me almost immediately took me out. So I'm looking at the history there. Yeah, there was a small loss on that trade. So this is one of the problems with consolidation. If you get into it, if price is literally going up and down and up and down, up and down, it's moving sideways, you can get into a trade and immediately get taken out. That's one of the reasons why we don't get in trades when price is in consolidation. So I'm going to go back and share my trading view chart. Um, One second. So I'm just double checking that I'm sharing the correct screen. Yes, and that sound was possibly the training assistant getting me into another trade. I'm going to go back and look at that one. So, yes, it looks as if it's got me. Let me just move that down. Got me into a buy trade. I'm not really comfortable with that for the simple reason that prices just moving sideways. But I'm in for a buy, but look, prices dropped down to fill that fair value gap. If I look at the trade itself, I'm about $300 in a loss of about $300 on that. So I'm not really comfortable getting into a trade when prices just moving sideways. I need to make some adjustments on my training assistant because that could continue to happen all afternoon. So I'm going to go back to my trading view chart. Okay. So we were looking at potentially getting in for a sell here, but look what's happened. Price, there's a long wick down there, and then prices decided to go in the opposite direction. The 13, the red line, didn't actually cross over the 62. So we'll need to come back and look at that. Thinking about getting some alerts here. I either want price to come back down. Like we've got an alert on GBP USD, so we'll go and have a look at that. Yeah, so there's nothing happening really. We are below the red trend line, so we should be thinking sells. We're in a wave down, but price is undecided. It's thinking about going up. We've got red piece half pushing price down, but price is definitely trying to get up. And if that candle goes up a little bit higher, it'll take out that wick, and we'll end up with take out that piece out, and we'll end up with a green piece out below the price. So stay away from that right now. Let's go look at GBP USD. Because we've got an alert. Right, so price has come out of my channel. We've got a positive water atta with the black line pointing away from the red line and the histogram above. So we could be looking at price going up, but it might bounce off that yesterday's POC. Everything else is saying we're good to get in for a buy. We're in a wave up. The 200 is pointing up, the 62 is pointing up, the 5 is pointing up, so the 13 pointing up, and price has broken out of there was a point there which broke structure once it got above that point. So we could potentially get in for a buy there. But the limiting factor is that it might bounce off that POC, and then it might bounce off. If it breaks through that, it might then bounce off the red trend line. So I wouldn't be confident, to be honest, in getting into that. I'm going to measure that distance again. So from that point there down to where price is now, this 6 pips, my stop loss would need to be on that green line there. But the buyers are backing away. So it looks as if uh, consolidation is the word for today. Everything's consolidating. We go back to GBP card. No, we haven't broken above the green trend line, and I would want it to get a little bit higher than that before I was interested. We are in a wave up. We've got green pre-SARS. We've got the 200 pointing up. We've got the 62 pointing up. We've got the 13 pointing up. What ATA was looking good, it's looking not quite as good on the current candle. I would want price to break above that break of structure line there. Not necessarily as far as I've got my channel, but I'm not confident. I think it's just going to be moving sideways. GBP USD, yeah, it's hesitating now. There was a strong movement, but it's having a think about it now. It's not really pushing any further north. Euro card. Price is moving up, price is moving down, price is moving up. We are coming up against the 200 moving average. We're in a wave up. We've got green PSRs, but is it going to reject off the 200? Is it going to reject off the green trend line? If it gets beyond the green trend line, is it going to reject off the red trend line? If it gets above that, is it going to reject off that break of structure? I'm not really confident in that. And the water ATA is telling it to keep out. And Euro USD, sorry, I'll probably put quite a large parallel channel on this one. If I'm getting in for a buy, to be confident, I would need price to be above that break of structure. If I'm going to get in for a sell, price might come down here and bounce off that. So I'm not really interested. I'm going to come back and look at that later. Euro US. We've broken above the green trend line, but we're getting resistance at the red trend line. So what I would need, just move that down. What I would need is for price to break above that green trend line. Because you can see how price is respecting that red trend line. I want it to get above where it is now. We are in a wave up. The 200 moving average is pointing upwards. The 62 is pointing upwards. The 13 is pointing upwards. We've got green wave blocks. We've got green PSAR pushing price up. But I want price to get above that red trend line. The water ATA isn't giving me any confidence. I want the black explosion line to be above the red line, and I want it to be pointing away. It's not pointing away, it's running sideways. And I want the green histogram to be dark green and above the black explosion line. So I would consider getting in for a buy once price breaks past that green, sorry, past that red trend line. So I'm going to have one last look at the tests that I'm doing. So share a different screen. And so what's going on? We got in at that point for a buy, and we're still, price has been up there, but it's come back down again. We're at break even at the minute. We're actually $100 in profit right now there. down to 66. The price needs to go. I've got to take profit on that red line there, but we just slightly in drawdown with $33 in drawdown. We now $33 in profit. And I don't feel particularly comfortable. If you think about this is Euro USD, and on the other chart, I was waiting for price to break above that green trend line. It's not visible on this chart, but we want it to get above. You see that that wick there and that wick there. They're sort of indicating where that trend line is, the red trend line on the other chart. And I want price to be above that before I get confident. We now $100 in drawdown on that one. So I'm going to go back to my trading view chart. I want to be on the Euro US. And you can see, look, this is the same pair we've just been looking at. We're currently on the 2-minute time frame. Price is just, we've tried to get above the red trend line there. We've tried to get above the red trend line there, and it's now come back down again. If I was trading manually, I would wait until price got above that red trend line, and I would like to see a gap between the trend line and the candle. So let's just see what we can do. We can put a trend line. Well, no. What I want is that's very roughly in position. I'm trying to get that sort of parallel and just drag it down a bit. I would want price. I'm going to make that green because I'm thinking about getting in for a buy, but I want price to get above that red trend line. So I can put an alert on that green trend line that I've just drawn, and I can ask it to let me know when price crosses that trend line once per bar. So at the minute, price is going sideways. So trading manually, I wouldn't have got in this. Trading with the trading assistant, I'm already in that trade, but I'm not comfortable with it. Let me just go back, and then I'm going to call it a day. And you can see the price is trying to get up, but we're $183 in drawdown because we got in. Sorry, we're $183 in profit because we got in at that line there. So we're now in profit on this trade, $250 in profit. But can you see how price is going up and then coming down and going up and then coming down and up and then down? It's really not sure. We're about $250 in profit. It needs a real good push. It needs to get up to that trend line. And basically, the settings I've got are that it needs, from where it got in, it needs to move up by 6 pips to give me, in rough figures, it needs to give me $1,000 on a $100,000 account. So we're currently $400+ in profit. It's moving upwards. And we're just under halfway. The stop loss is down here. So I've got a 3-pip stop loss and I've got a 6-pip take profit. I'm just going to, I said I was going to call it a day. I don't mind sitting watching this just out of interest. Okay. So we're down to $250 profit now. I'm looking at the time, it's 2 minutes past 2, so I don't think there was any news, was there, at 2 o'clock? I'm pretty sure that the main news was going to be 3 o'clock. But there's nothing really to drive price in either one direction or another. But we're doing okay. We're $400, 384, $400 in profit. We've got another 3 pips to go. We're about halfway. We're $550 in profit now. We're just over the halfway point. Be nice to end this session with a win. Go back and look at what was going on my manual chart. Okay, so price is still trading manually. I'm still not confident to get in because price is respecting that red trend line. It needs to break through. And the water atta is not quite there yet. It's shaping up. We've got the black line pointing away from the red line, but we don't have the histogram above the black line. So it's not, there's not sufficient volume to push price up beyond that red trend line. You can see it's respecting that red trend line, but it's not breaking through it. So if I was trading Euro US manually, I wouldn't be getting in. But on the trading view, sorry, on the trading assistant version, we were up by over $500. I suspect we've got slightly less profit now. Price has fallen slightly. So with $434 in profit, $500 in profit, we need another push up to that red line. We got in at 312, 6 pips on top of that would be 372, and we're currently at 337. So we're less than halfway now. And that really is, if you think about what we're looking at on the other chart, there's a red trend line going sort of from that week to that week to where it is now, or it was a couple of candles back. That is causing resistance, and it's price is struggling to get beyond that trend line. Now, as time goes by, it may stay behind the trend line, but it might still hit this target here. Right, we've got an alert, so I'm going to go back and just check on that alert, see if there's anything of any interest. There's another alert. So GBP CAD, we've got 2 alerts there. Right. Sticking with Euro US, we've just crossed the trend line. So we've got an alert on Euro US. It's just made a move to go above my trend line. But I'm going to go back to, is it GBP CAD? Yes, we got an alert because it temporarily broke out of my channel and then it came back in again. So again, I want price to be outside that channel before I think about getting into a buy. The water atta was strong on that candle, but it's not as strong on this candle. So I'm going to go back to Euro US. Yeah, we've still got some resistance. It's still respecting my trend line, the red trend line. It needs, what I would be looking for if I was trading manually would be the next candle to open above the red trend line with a gap, and then I'd be interested. But I'm going to finish off this session by looking at where we're at, because I suspect we'll be in a decent bit of profit on the trading assistant. All right, so with $500 in profit, prices having a bit of a pullback, but it doesn't have far to go. It's been almost up to my take profit line. So I'm just going to watch it for a minute. What's interesting about this is we've got the white line, which is the 68 moving average. We've got the blue, which is a 21 moving average. We've got the yellow, which is a 13 moving average. So all the moving averages are pointing up, and the lower moving averages are above the higher moving average. So they're in the right sequence. You've got this red and green, the whole average, which was green and then changed to red. It's currently back to green, so that's pushing or suggesting prices moving up. And we've got the Heiken ashes, which are still moving up, still green, and still consistent size-wise. So we've got round about $600 in profit. We just need a last push up to the take profit. We've got 3.8 pips. This is showing here 3.8 pips, 3.5, 3.4. We need to get up to 6 pips, but it does need to break through that red dashed line there. We're currently on $635 in profit. So I think tomorrow morning, I normally do a Wednesday morning session at 6 a.m. But I think because of the week that we're in with an election coming up and 4th of July coming up and non-farm payroll, I think I'm going to give tomorrow morning session a miss. And I'll be back again on Friday at 1 p.m. UK time. There's still $500 in profit there. I'm going to go back to my original screen and then I'm going to call it a day. Just have one last look. Can you see how price has respected that red trend line, and it's still respecting that red trend line? It's struggling to get past it. As time goes by, it could continue to respect it, but it can get higher and higher. We don't have sufficient volume in the market. That is the downside. Everything is telling me I should be getting in for a buy, but we have very little volume in the market. So thanks for jumping on. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to call it a day. Well, right, so I'm going to end the meeting now. I'll be back. I'm going to place this in Discord as soon as I finish, and then I'll be back on Friday afternoon. Thanks now. Cheers.